I have a confession to make. People versus Food is my guilty pleasure channel. I'm not subscribed to them, but I really do watch a lot of their content. And I think one of my favorite things about them has always been Try Not to Eat, where they'd have people try not to eat foods from whatever media it would be, whether it be video games, movies, or in some cases books, because they did Harry Potter and they used the books there. And I always like the concept of that, and I genuinely think it's a lot more entertaining to watch people do it. To watch people make a choice between a dish or to be punished is always interesting to see. And I always wanted them to do an episode on something that I like personally. And, well, I'm doing Big City Greens. Mainly because it's the only current modern Disney animated show that has showed up in one of these. Which is kind of sad, but it's also funnier to me. So a lot of you watching this are probably asking, what is Big City Greens? Big City Greens is an animated show made in 2017, and it's still going. And it is by far the current modern Disney show that's still going on. Like, it's currently Disney's longest running show. And I don't mean like timeline-wise, I mean like currently right now of all the new shows, it's running the longest. Which is kind of cool, actually. Again, this started like in 2017, and it's 2025. Yeah, it's been going on for very long. It's had a movie, very little merch, which is kind of weird, but it's getting it soon. And it did appear in a Try Not to Eat challenge recently, so I feel like out of all the shows, it should get one. Side note, I know a lot of, Owl House fans or Amphibia fans watching this video, if you exist, are probably thinking that it doesn't deserve it. But the thing is, though, is that I don't think Owl House or Amphibia could get a Try Not to Eat. I personally don't like the fact that those shows could get it. Because I always feel like Owl House and Amphibia would always just be Try to Eat, where they would eat the food because it's awful. Like, it doesn't feel right for them to make a fairy pie good, or any of the other foods in the Owl House taste good, because a lot of the gags is just, this is awful. They could do it, sure, but it wouldn't really feel right for them to do it. And that's honestly how I feel about Owl House. Same thing with Amphibia. There's a lot of bug stuff in there, and they would probably just make it try to eat instead of try not to eat. If enough people ask, I'll do it. Like do one for one of those shows. But let's start with Big City Greens Try Not to Eat. Now, here's the thing, though. A lot of you might have no idea what a Try Not to Eat challenge is, and there's some of you that do. So, if you're only interested to find out what I personally think would be the best option for this, my personal thing is to go to the timestamp that's in the description if you just want to know what I personally would pick and my reasons for picking them. As from this point forward, I'm going to be talking about what it is, setting it up, and basically explaining everything from the prizes to the punishment to the dishes. Because I really do think it's interesting to break this down for the people that have never seen this channel before. So, let's start with that. So, normally in a Try Not to Eat, there's 5 dishes that are being served, and the contestants must not eat. If they eat one of these foods, they are automatically given the punishment. Per food that they consume, that is 1 punishment, bite, sip, whatever it is that they have to do. And the foods for those Try Not to Eat parts, I put them into 4 separate categories. Because they genuinely just fall in those categories. They do combine some of the categories into doing that, which I think is really cool. But for the purposes of this, I just want to focus on the 4 categories. Category number 1 is just recreation. This is the biggest category, and almost every single one of them falls in here. They take the item from the show, recreate it, and give it to you to try not to eat. It's definitely the most interesting one, especially for the cartoons where they actively replicate it in a very good way. I personally really love this category the most, especially when they do insane foods like what they did with Chowder and pretty much other ones as well. Recreation foods can also combine the other categories as well, such as with We Bare Bears, and they created the pizza guitar. that only combines another category. But, well, that's all I can really say about this category. There's not that many bad examples of bad recreation foods because, well, they technically have already repaired some of them. One of the biggest examples was in the One Piece Try Not to Eat, where they made the devil fruit edible. And a lot of people were saying the devil fruit should have been the punishment because devil fruits taste awful, as stated in show. When they redid it again, they did do it as a punishment next time, but we'll get to the punishments later. Category number 2, experience ones. So the experienced ones are mostly ones that have a sort of experience tied with it. A good example of this would be the Scooby-Doo episode with the zero gravity cinnamon buns. And they just, had attached to a string, and that's the experience. I genuinely think that this is one of the weaker ones, if not the weakest one. Because most of the time it's just, we attached this to a string, now eat it because of the experience. They can get creative with them, but other times it's just, again, to bring it up, cinnamon roll on a string, eat it, like that. Not a very, very good category, but it's there. Category number 3, bundles of items. This one sounds weird, but essentially speaking, there'd be times where it's just a lot of food as the thing. This is where cheese platters would fall in, where a lot of drinks would fall into place. It's basically just a lot of food, and that's it. When it's done well, again, like a cheese plate, I think it's really cool. But other times it's just, hey, here's a bunch of food right here. That's just Lay's and chips and stuff. And I don't know. I always think that's lame. Like, they did it for the Despicable Me 4 one, which, like, they could have recreated the food, honestly, from the vending machine instead of just doing this. This is kind of lame. I genuinely think it's one of the lamer ones. But when it's done right, it's done right. And finally, the final category, item. It sounds weird, but essentially speaking, sometimes the food would come with an item. A good example of this would be literally for the one that started this entire thing, the Burger Clown meal from the Big City Greens one, where they do Try Not to Eat. Genuinely speaking, including glasses, and they get the glasses if they eat the food. They get to keep it. But that's not my favorite one. One of my favorite ones was the one with the Moana one where it was coconut ice cream. And if they ate the ice cream, they got to keep the bowl, which I thought was really cool. They also did it for the Flintstones as well with the Shave Iced. And they got to keep the cup as well. Again, I like these a lot. And I genuinely think that they're probably the coolest ones. But we rarely see them because of just those factors alone. For this Big City Greens challenge, I will be including one from every category, but not really any combinations because that just seems a bit lame to combine them. So you will be seeing one of each category for the Big City Greens one. And now we get to the prizes and punishments. Here's the thing about prizes and punishments. They can either be really good or really bad for both ends of the spectrum. Let's start with prizes first. Prizes are pretty much the gauntlet. What you get for skipping out on everything. And before we get any smartasses in the room saying, well, isn't the prize avoiding the punishment? No, dumbass. That's not the point. That is a side effect of not being able to do it. There have been some bad prizes in the past. And before I review them, I want to talk about some good things for prizes that I want to focus on. A good variety of food. I think the best ones are the ones where they just give you a lot of food to pick from. And there's just so much that you're like, oh, this is going to be really good. I deserve it. And genuinely, there have been times with prizes where they gave out items with them as well. The Guy Fieri episode pretty much gave them an entire bottle of alcohol and a cookbook, which I genuinely thought was a really good prize. Genuinely, just honest to God, one of my favorite prizes that they do is just give an item with it too. And they give a really good food. But there's also like a nice buffet ones where it's just a lot of food. Those right there are really good prizes. I will now be going over some awful prizes. I got 3 contenders here, and if enough people really ask, I will rank every prize and every single punishment if people really ask me to rank them. But just know that we're going to be going over some bad prizes. Let's start off with, I think, the one with the least amount of bad. The Ed, Edd and Eddy prize. So, your prize for skipping out on all the food was the canker burgers and powdered milk. Oh God. Okay, that's it. It's definitely one of the more underwhelming prizes, but it's still 2 burgers. But powdered milk. Keep in mind that there's been better prizes in my opinion, like multiple buffets of food, like double portions of food, and for some cases, if you were patient, they gave you every single food you skipped out on. That was cool. But here we just get 2 burgers and powdered milk. That's it. Okay, I mean, it's definitely underwhelming, but it's not one of the worst prizes. The FNAF prize. How did you fuck up so bad, honestly? Listen, I don't like seeing people go through so much only to be rewarded with one of the worst things ever. Life is often disappointing. No, the fuck it's not. You cannot fucking pull that card when you give someone disappointing chips. This is just basic tortilla chips. In an episode where people skipped out on exotic butters, where people skipped out on so much, and you just give them chips, not even flavor, just straight up chips, is awful. That's it. And even if it's a small bag of chips, honestly, God, just makes me feel bad for the people that were in this episode. Definitely one of the worst prizes. And I'm so glad that, technically speaking, in future episodes after this one, they technically allowed the person to get a food that they wanted to and take the punishment. Which, trust me when I say for this one, we will be coming back to this specific episode. Oh ho ho, get ready for this one. We're coming back. Just like William Afton, this shit's coming back. Fucking hate this challenge so much. But not as much as the next challenge prize. The Great British Bake Off. Holy shit. Okay. You remember how I said that getting prizes is kind of cool? Yeah, it's great when you get a meal with it. They got nothing for this episode. Nothing. All they got was just a cake tray and flowers. That was your prize. No food, nothing. And I know I'm not in the minority with this because everybody in the comments just says, why did you do, genuinely everyone was just upset about that. Because it's just that. And the way they go around it too, right? Chef Ash was like, just look at the Great British Bake Off, but you guys will get money. Then give them a prize or food. Genuinely, you could have done that thing that you do for new episodes where it's just like, by the way, here's this cake tray and you get to have any dish you skipped out on. That at least would have made it salvageable. But no. Oh, just say the Great British Bake Off. Get out of here with that. Honestly, one of the worst prizes, and if I do rank them all, which God help me if I do, this would probably be in last place. So those are all bad examples of prizes. Let's talk about bad punishments. And not bad punishments as in the punishment is bad. No. As in the punishment was awfully designed bad. Punishments are always meant to be the consequences of falling for one of these. Your temptation has led you to have an awful dish. Hot take, pun not intended, but I hate the spicy ones. God damn, I hate the spicy challenges, like the spicy punishments. Because it's just boring. The most boring option is just, oh boy, here comes some spice. And then there's times where it's just like, it's not that spicy. I don't know, I want people to suffer with bad tasting food, not with, oh fuck, this is so spicy. Oh, no, get out of here with that, no. Now, we should be looking at bad punishments. Overall, I genuinely think all the punishments have been very, very good and very, very, that's awful. Again, the spice one is a personal take for me, but let's talk about some awful punishments. Oh God, this one. Okay. It's very hard to talk about bologna in our slacks without addressing several questions. First of all, why? Keep in mind that this was in the person's pants. And I don't want to ask certain questions. I want to ask about it. Like, there's so much. At best, it's just going to be a bit moist. At worst, I want to throw up thinking about the concept of anything behind that. Listen, I don't want to think about this, but it's just baloney. But at the same time, though, every time you think about this prize more, punishment, you're like, what the fuck? Because it's like, think about it. It was in her pants. As far as we know, and I'm praying to God for this, as far as we know, the baloney was just in her pants. I'm hoping there's leggings there because I don't want to think about it more. Like, the more I think about this, it's just, why? What? Like, I get it. You know, it's the joke, haha. But you could have chosen any other gross food from Animaniacs. But you chose bologna in our slacks. There's literally a game called Ants in Our Pants. You could have just made it in there. And then put some awful sauce and make the bologna taste bad. But no, you instead had to put it in an actual person's pants. That is... The image of that is just terrifying, and it makes you ask more questions as the viewer. Also, if you're a freak, you probably would have been gobbling that bologna. Let's move on to the next punishment, because, oh my god, the more I think about this one, the more it genuinely causes me actual mental damage. Okay, so the Russian takoyaki is not a bad one if you're lucky. Like, yeah, it's another just spice only. But, like, it's just random, if that makes sense. I don't hate it, but it's here because you're going to technically get out of it if you just get lucky. It's never specified how many of them are safe, but I like to assume at least a good 5. So, otherwise it's just wasabi. It's kind of lame. I think it's cool, but I think it should have been saved for like one of their other video series, which is like prize versus punishment, and you know it should have just been one wasabi ball, and then just pick one. Whoever gets a spicy one loses. Honestly, that's just what I think. But don't listen to me. Oh yeah, right, Bluey. So this isn't bad. It's just a bunch of combinations of foods. I mean, yeah, it's sensory overload if you're like, you know, not into certain textures. But this isn't bad. It's just, you know, it's just that. It's just a bunch of combinations of foods. They could have made it worse, but they didn't make it worse, and that's kind of underwhelming. But then again, Bluey doesn't have that many bad foods. So, yeah. Oh, I told you you'd be back, motherfucker. I told you you would be back. The fucking Chica's fish thing. Oh, god damn it. What were they thinking with this one? So, it's just fish. That's it. I don't care if it's just bad. It's just fishy. That's it. It's just fish. Like, straight up just a fucking fish chocolate thing. And seeing 2 people eat the entire thing like it's nothing does not give me assurance that it tastes bad. It's probably just like fish skin, and I love eating fish skin because I'm a weird person. But the fact that the guy who won and went through everything eats it and then goes, oh my god, you know what? I'm just going to play the clip of him right now because genuinely speaking, I think that best captures my thoughts on this.
But I had the Foxy Bar, the Moon Drop.
Yeah, I feel bad for that guy, honestly. He missed out on everything just to find out that the punishment wasn't as bad. Man. I feel bad for that guy specifically. And that's what we want to avoid, if that makes sense. So let's go over it one more time before we officially start revealing the Big City Greens things. We're going to do 5 dishes. Eat at least 4 of them will have a sort of experience tied to them, if that makes sense. Then we're going to have a prize and a punishment. There will also be honorable mentions as well for each category. So let's start off with the dishes. Dish number 1, Alice's biscuits. I want to start off nice and good here with a nice sort of dish where it's like you really want to do it. This is a very iconic dish of the show. Biscuits like this are just, biscuits. But they're really good. Make them look as delectable as in the show. And I think we have a cause for a really, really good first one. I always feel like the first meal should be the one to decide whether or not you fold or not. And I think starting off like this with an iconic food that makes it look really good and have all the characters say it's really good, that's how you start off well. I don't know how they make it, but use this as the first one. Dish number 2 would be a far more, is going to be our experience one. So in Big City Greens, there's this sort of entire meal that Bill does to prove that he's city folk. And one of the options, one of the dishes actually, not options, is sushi. And Bill tries to use chopsticks. Unfortunately, Bill can't use chopsticks. He's just like me for real. And the waiter goes, how about we have people that can help you with chopsticks. And that's my next idea right there. Literally have 2 of the React crew go behind these people and then just feed them the sushi. Like, genuinely speaking, that's a good experience right there. Have someone feed you sushi. That right there would probably make some people fold. Like, having Chef Ash feed you the food. That right there will make certain people fold. And I think that right there might be a really good one. As an experience one. It's probably one of the better experiences one I can think of. Yeah, it's kind of underwhelming, but there's not much else really to go for with Big City Greens. So this is going to be the other normal one. The truck stop food. There's been a lot of truck stop food used. So, this is the Buc-ee's episode. So it's just trucker nuggets is right there. Have the cotton candy, the drink, have all that. There's a nice variety spread of food for option 3, and have all that there where it's like, oh, nice pit stop snack, That right there would be really good in my opinion. As a nice sort of group collective food. Okay, so this is going to be a bit weird, if that makes sense. But bear with me here, as I genuinely think this one might be really good. The Big City Greens breakfast from Tooth Hurdy. Yes, I'm specifically citing this episode right here. Holy shit, I know, it's crazy, right? So then, it's just bacon, eggs, cornbread, which literally just puts a bunch of corn on there. Honestly, a really, really good one in my opinion. But there's not much else I can realistically say about this, because that's just it. It's just a really good breakfast plate. That's for course 4. And finally, course 5. This is meant to be our item experience because, we haven't had one for a while. This one was always hard because you can't really get a really good item. Actually, wait, there is one. Steak night. So, Big City Greens, episode 1, season 1. Steak night. The Greens get steaks. And in the episode, there's this robot that grabs their steaks because they think it's a bomb. Yes, Big City Greens is one of my favorites of all time. Genuinely speaking, Cricket loses the steaks, and they think that it's a bomb, but it's just steaks. So have the robot come in with the steak, and if you eat the steak, you keep the robot. Genuinely, that's the best way to put that one for the experience one. I'm sorry, that's a very, very lame course dish. I'll put it up here on the screen in case you need to refer to it again. But that right there is my perfect selection. I'm sorry I didn't go that much detail into it, but I do have the images up on screen in case you want to see. I'm not that good of a chef, and I doubt I'm going to be able to cook any of these for your real-life pleasure. And before we get to the prize and punishments, it's time for the honorable mentions section, where I'm just going to mention a bunch of food and put it on screen that I think could replace any one of these, if that makes sense, if the reactor doesn't want to do any of my ideas, which is fair and fine. I doubt they're going to watch this video, so let's do the honorable mentions. The donut with mini donuts on it. That just looks cool. Genuinely speaking, that just looks cool to do. If they could do Homer's donut, they could do this. Just make mini donuts. The fondue that Greg Lee orders from the Uber Eats, that's a really good one. The meal, the spaghetti that Cricket and Gabriella eat during their date that Bill enforces, which I think is also a nice option as well. Tilly's hot chocolate, since they like doing liquids as well. It's really good that it makes a lot of things good. The cake that Alice makes, because not Alice, why did I say Alice? No, she doesn't make a cake. It's Nancy. I thought of Alice because it's just because she has baked. Honestly, she baked the biscuits. The pie that's made for Tilly that has Tilly's face on it. The blueberry pie, good one right there. But I'll come back to the entire thing as well later on. I guess that's really it. Honestly, the best popcorn that was ever made that Bill makes for the movies, and that takes forever to make, but that's really good. That's really about it. There's probably more options, but I'm saving a lot of the other items for, the prize section. And let's get to the prizes. Let's start off with this. The prize could have been anything, and I honestly debated with myself whether it should have been, Gloria's Crepe alongside many other pastries and coffee from Big Coffee and Gloria plus Green Cafe. That could have been an option. I could have done the entire Thanksgiving feast, the feast that was made for Remy's family, Remy's birthday feast, which just has pizza, the giant Remy cake, and drinks. Cricket's party that he has in that episode where he's at the Chuck E. Cheese knockoff. Again, so many options, and yet I'm choosing one that I think should have been obvious to everybody from the start if they've watched Big City Greens. The giant meal that Cricket and his family eat alongside the ice cream. I forgot the restaurant, and I genuinely forgot it. So you're going to have to bear with me here, but I do remember the items. Fried shrimp, chicken tenders, fries, ribs, 5 chocolate milkshakes, and Bill's bacon cheeseburger, yeah, that. And bonus point, if the React crew wants to do it, the entire fucking ice cream bowl that they have to eat, and a get out of punishment card, which I didn't cover because it just wasn't relevant to this. But yes, they do have little cards that they give out for trying not to, to get out of punishment free card, where that way they can eat all the food and then also have the main course at the end as well, the prize. Yeah, I honestly have that there because in the episode, Cricket says they're going to eat for free. And it just makes sense in my opinion, And now for the punishment. Unlike the prize where I debated with myself, what could possibly be the prize? I already knew what I wanted the punishment to be no matter what. I always knew. Sure, I could have went with the disgusting Subway pizza that Tilly makes. I could have went for anything, honestly. I'm putting them on the list. I'm blanking out at the moment, but I'll probably put some things on here. The Subway pizza, those awful chips from that same Trucker episode that Cricket says he's going to open. There's so many things I could have went for. But I knew going in what I wanted. To quote Tilly, you don't drink barrel water. Yeah, just this. We don't know what barrel water tastes like. But make that the punishment. Make the most foul, awful drink. I want to see these people regret their life decisions when they drink that barrel water. Make it taste like whatever. 5 sips per person. Yeah, good luck sipping on that. And that's really it, honestly. If there's anything I'd like to add to this episode, I'm on my knees begging that you please get Chris Hoggington and his brother on there if possible, if not just Chris, because he voices Cricket, honestly. And every single part of me just wants Cricket's voice actor to make it on there. If you could get the odds one out for his episode, and if you could get Marco Diaz's voice actor for the Star vs. episode, you could totally get Chris on the show. Please get him on the show. Please, 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 please. And that concludes this episode. Thank you for listening to this, to another tangent of mine. I'm on Blue Sky, so the next video is already confirmed, in case for those wondering. But yeah, I'm going to go, do stuff after this. Until then, this is a Newt Start signing out, and see you next time. Stay safe out there.